Welcome everyone, Adam Edwards, CEO of Telarus for another C2C, this time Channel Chief of Global Channels for LogMeIn. A familiar face to all of us in the channel, Mr. Rick Ribas. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to this. Been looking forward to this for years.
That's right. Well, Rick, now you were at Telarus for many years. Before that at Planet One, so heavy credentials over on the master agent side. Now you're at a provider. First question, I think most partners are wondering: is it easier now to profess your love for Telarus now that you're at LogMeIn?
Adam, I have to confess, what you didn't know is that all this time I actually have a Telarus tattoo on my arm and up here.
There it is.
I wore long sleeves for years.
I wondered why you wouldn't take your shirt off at the pool. There it is. There it is. For those of you who don't know in the audience, Rick and I have known each other for many years, actually shared President's Clubs together. Our spouses know each other in very high regard. And really exciting to be partnered with you, Rick, at this level now that you're at LogMeIn. So let's talk about that. With your unique perspective, you've been at master agents for years. You understand the mind of an agent. Why LogMeIn? Why did you make the choice to go there and not somewhere else?
It wasn't a deliberate choice. It was something to where I went to their sales kickoff, and I've been doing this, Adam, since 1987. So for a while, and I went to the sales kickoff, and my eyes just opened up. It was something I normally don't do. It was driving distance. I expected to see 300 green Jive shirts there, and instead I saw 3,000 people in a product set I had no idea even existed, and a $1.3 billion company that I thought was this tiny little Jive company. And I left there just feeling like, wow, this is just amazing, and how can I be part of this?
Well, I think there are a lot of partners who don't understand the breadth of the product set. Just really quickly, I think you're right that when you talk about the green shirts, you talk about Jive, and most partners have experienced Jive in the past, but this whole world of LogMeIn, can you just walk through really quickly the difference in the product set and the depth?
Yeah, it's a differentiator. So LogMeIn is basically a group of 3 or 4 companies that were acquired. So you have the Go-To brand, you have the Jive brand. So basically, besides the collaboration, the big differentiators are, of course, the LastPass, which is password authentication, which a lot of people use. I've used it for years, didn't know it was part of the LogMeIn family. But that's the residential version, let's say. But then there's an enterprise version as well, and there's an identity version for large companies. And then we have the access management and the remote access. So the Go to My PC, Rescue, and there's even a new product, not a new product, but new to the channel that I'm actually just getting released shortly to the channel, which is Bold 360, which is the bots that you see on a lot of the websites and in a lot of contact center applications. So these are all differentiators that I don't think the competition even has a desire to get into.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. In addition to other people not wanting to get into those spaces, partners don't know they exist. And I've got to say, I think that's one of the best ways to differentiate is rather than a partner trying to choose better, best, and distinguish among the two, having something that nobody else has is really a differentiator. No one has to distinguish between better or best. It just doesn't exist elsewhere. And I think you've got a catalog of those now at LogMeIn. So now that you're there, Rick, talk about the things you see from your perspective. Now, I mentioned this at the beginning. You've got a very unique perspective. There are very few, if any, channel chiefs out there that have had an experience at a master agent, knows how an agent thinks, and also now a provider perspective. So tell me some of your impressions as you went to LogMeIn. What did you see that you think partners don't understand and they probably should?
Well, when you're at a supplier, there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. So partners don't have to deal with the true customer service, the true tier 1, tier 2 support, the billing aspects, the tracking aspects, a lot of splitting, a lot of commission splitting. And you want to find reasons to say yes as much as you can. I mean, you really do. But you don't want to say yes to something, then find out later that it can't be tracked or it just can't be done. Especially when you're pulling 4 companies together. So that's something that we're working on, and the company is just going private, which is a great thing, which lets us take money from that we were putting into income producing into more system enhancing and bringing together. And that's going to allow us to say yes to a lot more things.
Well, and you know from your experience that partners want to hear yes. You also know from your experience that to say yes and not being able to deliver it is actually puts you in a worse position.
It does. It does. I mean, I'm actually, 33 years later, I'm learning every day. It's been fun.
So tell us about your vision for the channel. So it's not just US, you've got global channels, you've got this whole product set. Tell me, what does this look like, say, 6 months, a year from now?
Yeah. So right now the channel is about 60% of our business. Not that the channel masters are about 60% of our business. Masters and large integrators and disties. And the goal is to get that to 80 to 85%. We feel that's the best way we can scale. We want to keep enhancing the easy button. We want to be adding bundles to our products. See, right now behind the scenes, a lot of our products are on different billing systems. So as we're bringing those together, we can then take the Go to Connect and the Rescue and the LastPass, bundle it all together and just make life really simple. So we're doing it that way. Obviously, I'm handling around the world, and it's kind of interesting. I mean, I've been here for 2 months, have met maybe 5 people because we can't travel now, right? So getting to know the rest of the world, getting to know each country operates a little bit differently. And quite frankly, the business units operate a little bit differently. And one of my biggest requests from my boss is to bring unity to the program, just to bring everything together. So it's one contract, offers all products, offers all programs.
Got it. So truly a global program in nature, bringing all those different product sets and those different geographies together. Big task, but sure you're up to it, given your experience in making magic in channels. So let's talk about the current environment. So you mentioned you've only met 5 people. I mean, obviously you're talking to people every day. We're web conversing every day. But in this current environment, how has that changed the business outlook or functions? Now, granted, you weren't at LogMeIn before COVID, so there's not much pre-COVID experience. But how do you see this shaping things going forward?
So within the company, within LogMeIn itself?
Within LogMeIn and then in the addressable market for partners.
Yeah, so we'll talk about the addressable market. So that's obvious. So the channel is prospering. It's going to keep growing because what we anticipated, where collaboration would be the end of 2020, 21, 22 is happening now. I mean, we tripled our base of collaboration by the end of April, where we thought it would be by the end of 2020. So for partners, it couldn't be any better. For other industries that we're working with, I mean, you look at real estate, that's going to change, and that's a target for the partners, right? So they're going to be going from selling to office spaces that are now going to be maybe 20% occupied to hopefully those spaces are going to get converted to more retail, probably more residential as well. So that's going to change the global look as well. The environment hopefully is going to get better with less people on the road. But actually, I do have or had a couple surveys here, just to let you know, that we just did with 2,000 employees. And basically they're asking, hey, what's happening with remote work today? And if I can share these with you, that'd be great. I think it's pretty enlightening. So basically 40% of the respondents said that their biggest concern is communication within the company. They're feeling like they're on an island and making sure that they're involved. 37% biggest concern had been the lack of human interaction. And honestly, that's my concern. I just feel that I can get so much done around the table, but you have to eat your own dog food. And it hasn't been bad. We chatted a little bit earlier. It's, hey, is there a dog going behind you or the kids running in? I mean, it really helps you learn more about the people you're working with, right? It gives you a better perspective as what they're dealing with and what their lives are like and a better understanding. And then 30%, it's interesting, 30% felt that they're losing motivation. So keeping them motivated. Now, I've worked remote most of my life, even though we've had offices. Even with my original company, the office was, 4 miles down the road. I just got more work done because I got up early and got work done and didn't have to speak to people. But that's an anomaly. When you think of the traditional office space, people are used to going in an office and being held accountable. Now doing it from there, in some cases, you can tell by some of the videos, they're in their living rooms, they're in their kitchens, in their bedrooms, and staying motivated is a key factor.
So it's interesting that that last piece of motivation, and I'm sure that's not just LogMeIn, but everywhere. I mean, in fact, you mentioned the communication. We found that in our surveys as well as one of the concerns is communication, which is really interesting considering that it feels like we're communicating more than ever. In terms of the technology available to us to communicate, there still seems to be a depth of communication that's missing.
No, it's true. I mean, so we're working hard doing all kinds of versions of communication. And what's we also found out is you can't over communicate because they'll stop listening when they're on video all the time. So we try and make it, really important to them with global communications. We try to make it so that, I'll give you an example. We're choosing certain times and certain days of the week that we don't communicate internally purposely to allow people to actually stay off video, not communicating with themselves. So we can talk with partners, they can talk with end users, but don't go set up team meetings on, let's say, Wednesdays. Give them time to get work done, not have to worry about, hey, did I miss a webinar? Did I miss a message or something? And I think that's smart thinking. I think it gives, for me it was. I just felt like I was on these all day long, and you probably do as well.
Now, let me get this straight. Did you guys pick Wednesday?
That's what we're talking about, yeah.
Because we picked outbound Wednesday as well. So it looks like if we just talk to each other on Wednesday, we're both checking the box.
We're good. I know.
All right. Call Rick on Wednesdays. I got it. All right. So once obviously this is fast forwarded, you talked about that. Hit the 2020 goals by end of Q1, beginning of Q2. Things have fast forwarded and accelerated. When we do get back to normal, knowing the channel as you do, knowing partners as you do you think we get back to the same level of travel, or do you think it's a reduced amount?
I think travel's still going to be up there. I think travel's still going to be in the 70-80% range. Because what we're doing, we're going out. It's relationship building, right? The channel is mostly relationship. It's getting that trust factor. So in my opinion, my travel, I think, will stay up. As far as businesses in general, I think their travel is going to go down. So people that are buying the solutions from us, we got to see them. But people that are actually using it, typical office spaces, businesses, if they can use the technology, that's what we're selling them. We want to not convince them, but sell a solution that's going to save them possibly in other areas as well, which we travel.
So getting back to your unique perspective, you've been at two very successful master agencies, been very successful personally in your career. You've interfaced with the top agencies in the world and helped them grow from small agency to large agency. Partners are always starved for tips and best practices. So a little curveball here, but I want some advice from Rick Ribas. When you talk to partners and advise them on how best to grow their business and what the top partners are doing that maybe they're not doing, what would that advice be?
Wow, good question. When you're at a supplier, what I'm realizing is, the teams that are supporting the customers, it's just common knowledge. I just feel that partners do it better. The retention in the channel is better. Attrition obviously is lower. Renewals in the channel are better because of relationships. So I see so many times that there's accounts here with LogMeIn that are partner accounts and the partner never speaks to that account again. And especially nowadays when there's so much you can continue to sell into them, it's stay in front of the partner, keep that relationship. I can't tell you how many conversations I have even with end user customers today now that I'm on this side. Hey, you're with a partner. I haven't spoken to them for a while. And so don't take your accounts for granted. That's the biggest thing because no one does it better than the person that sold it.
All right, so great advice there from Rick Ribas is make sure you're reaching out to your partners. Nobody does it better than the channel does. And I think that's evident in some of the retention information that we see on the supplier side, which is why the suppliers like LogMeIn are going to over 80% channel. That's a huge number. And great to hear that LogMeIn is so focused on the channel. I'm guessing you would have never gone there if that wasn't the case.
No, so I don't think they would have brought me in if that wasn't the case either. So it goes both ways, yeah.
It's interesting, Rick. Given your tenure in the channel, that's a nice euphemism, right? For being, yeah. tenure, given your maturity in the channel. But what that gives you is perspective. I mean, it seems like it was, what, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when our roles as executives for representing partner communities and partner channels was in convincing executives why they should consider the channel, why they should not cut the channel, why they should continue investing in the channel. How crazy is it that we don't have to have that conversation anymore?
No, the credibility of the channel and the value of the channel has gone up, you know, tenfold over the last 10 years. Some of the acquisitions, I mean, quite frankly, the acquisition of where I came from, I mean, that helps solidify it when it goes into the big disties and they start investing. And when the channel starts talking about the large, you know, Fortune 100 accounts that they're closing that are going with the channel, you can't ignore it anymore. And for a CIO nowadays, for them to be blinded nowadays and just say, here, this, you know, I'm trying to be nice here, this carrier A or carrier B or whatever it would be is the best solution only. I mean, they'll lose their job if they go in that direction nowadays. They have to bring in options.
Right. Yeah, it's such a different world now. And I've got to say, you know, partners look at providers and judge the credibility of that provider based on its channel friendliness, not just its solution. And so having you there as a partner advocate with your credentials and your reputation of how you fought tirelessly for partners over the years is a big win for LogMeIn. So I hope they recognize that, and we'll surely be messaging that to them, you know, when we speak to executives at LogMeIn around you. But before we depart, Rick, any last comments that you think would be good information for our partners to know?
No, I mean, a little plug for LogMeIn. We are, you know, so partner focused. And it's, again, that's why they brought me in. That's why they're making the investment there. You're going to see a lot more investments in the channel. I'm excited. I mean, I've never imagined this. And I'm just loving it and being able to work with all my friends in the industry and actually work with them, you know, instead of just chatting, having a drink, having a coffee and saying, hey, great. It's fun. It's fun doing this. And I'm just looking forward to, you know, taking on the world. That's it.
Well, we've had a phenomenal relationship with LogMeIn thus far, and with you at the helm, we are thrilled to continue growing that relationship. So message to partners out there, make sure you become aware of the entire portfolio at LogMeIn. Great sunny skies ahead with Rick Ribas at the helm. Thrilled that you could come join us today, and we look forward to growing with you. Thanks so much.